The last photo I ever took of my best friend looked completely ordinary. The sun was shining. Children were laughing. The smell of grilled food drifted through the warm afternoon air. Nothing in that picture hinted that within hours, every person smiling in that frame would be gone from my life forever. I have replayed that day thousands of times. Every decision. Every phone call. Every warning I ignored. And every second that led to the night I lost my best friend and his entire family. Before we begin, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Storyverse if you believe kindness, forgiveness, and second chances can change lives. Your support helps more emotional stories reach people who need them most. My name is Rowan Mercer, and for nearly 20 years, my best friend was a man named Silas Bennett. Some friendships happen slowly. Ours happened instantly. We met when we were 12 years old after I transferred to a new school. I was awkward, shy, and terrified of being the new kid. Most students ignored me. Some laughed at me. Silas didn't. On my first day, he sat beside me at lunch and shared half his sandwich. It sounds small now. But when you're 12 years old and feeling completely alone, one act of kindness can feel like being rescued. From that day forward, we became inseparable. We played baseball together. Worked summer jobs together. Graduated together. And even after life pulled us in different directions, we remained brothers in every way except blood. Years later, Silas married a wonderful woman named Marin. They built a beautiful life. Not a perfect life. But a beautiful one. They had 2 children, a curious 10-year-old daughter named Eloan and an energetic 7-year-old son named Jasper. Whenever I visited, their home felt alive. There was always laughter. Always noise. Always warmth. Their house wasn't large, but somehow it felt bigger than any mansion because it was filled with love. I never married. I never had children. So in many ways, they became my family too. Every holiday. Every birthday. Every summer barbecue. I was there. And that is why what happened still hurts so much. The morning of that terrible day began like hundreds before it. A bright Saturday. Clear skies. Perfect weather. Silas invited me to spend the afternoon at a lakeside picnic about 30 miles outside town. I almost didn't go. Work had exhausted me that week. I considered staying home. But something made me say yes. I remember arriving shortly before noon. The lake sparkled beneath the sunlight. Children chased each other through open fields. Families spread blankets beneath tall trees. It felt like one of those rare days when life seems uncomplicated. The kind of day people remember fondly years later. We grilled burgers. Played catch. Took pictures. Watched the kids race along the shoreline. At one point, I snapped that final photograph. Silas stood beside Marin with his arm around her shoulder. Eloan and Jasper smiled in front of them. 4 happy faces. Frozen forever. As afternoon drifted toward evening, dark clouds began forming in the distance. Most people ignored them. Weather forecasts had predicted only light rain. Nothing serious. Still, something felt strange. The wind changed direction. Birds disappeared from the shoreline. The air felt heavier. Like nature was holding its breath. Around 6 o'clock, I suggested leaving early. Silas laughed and said I worried too much. Maybe he was right. Maybe I did. But for reasons I still can't explain, unease settled deep inside me. An hour later, everyone packed up. I drove home separately while Silas and his family followed in their SUV. We waved goodbye at an intersection. Neither of us knew it was the last time we'd ever see each other. The storm arrived faster than anyone expected. By sunset, black clouds swallowed the sky. Rain crashed down in sheets. Wind howled through the trees. Emergency alerts began appearing on phones across the county. Flash flooding. Road closures. Severe weather warnings. I called Silas immediately. No answer. I texted him. Nothing. At first, I wasn't worried. Cell service often failed during storms. But as minutes turned into hours, concern grew. The news reported flooding along several highways, including the route Silas had taken home. My stomach twisted. I kept calling. Again. And again. And again. No response. By midnight, fear had replaced concern. I drove toward the county emergency center despite the weather. The roads were chaotic. Branches littered the pavement. Floodwaters covered intersections. Emergency vehicles rushed past in every direction. When I arrived, dozens of worried families were gathered inside. Everyone searching for someone. Everyone praying for good news. That was when I learned the truth. A section of highway bridge had collapsed after floodwaters weakened its supports. Several vehicles had gone into the river below. Rescue teams were still searching. No names had been released. But deep inside, I already knew. The feeling was impossible to describe. It wasn't certainty. It was something worse. The realization that life had suddenly changed forever. Hours crawled by. Morning arrived. Then came the confirmation. Silas's vehicle had been found. There were no survivors. 4 lives. Gone. One night. One storm. One terrible chain of events. I don't remember much after that. Grief has a way of blurring reality. Days felt like minutes. Weeks felt like years. I attended funerals. Signed paperwork. Helped distant relatives organize belongings. Performed countless tasks while feeling completely numb. Everywhere I looked, memories followed me. The baseball field where we played as children. The diner where we celebrated birthdays. The park where Eloan learned to ride her bicycle. The world remained unchanged. Yet everything felt different. People often talk about losing someone. Few talk about losing an entire family. The silence afterward is overwhelming. No birthday invitations. No holiday calls. No laughter. No random text messages. Just emptiness. For months, I blamed myself. I replayed the picnic endlessly. What if I had insisted they leave earlier? What if I had convinced them to take another route? What if I had driven with them? What if? What if? What if? Those 2 words became a prison. Every night, I stared at the ceiling imagining alternate versions of reality. Versions where everyone survived. Versions where the storm arrived later. Versions where my best friend was still alive. But reality never changed. Eventually, grief transformed into isolation. I stopped answering calls. Stopped meeting friends. Stopped enjoying anything. Life became survival. Nothing more. Then one afternoon, nearly a year after the tragedy, something unexpected happened. I received a package. Inside was a small wooden box. Attached was a note from Marin's sister. The box had been recovered from the family's home. She thought I should have it. When I opened it, tears immediately filled my eyes. Inside were dozens of handwritten letters. Photos. Drawings. Keepsakes. Memories collected over years. At the bottom sat an envelope with my name written across it. My hands shook as I opened it. The letter had been written by Silas. Months before the accident. Apparently, he had started writing letters to people he cared about after a coworker passed away unexpectedly. He wanted loved ones to have something meaningful if anything ever happened to him. I sat alone at my kitchen table and read every word. The letter wasn't dramatic. It wasn't poetic. It was simple. He thanked me for being his friend. For showing up during difficult times. For loving his children like family. For sharing life's journey beside him. Then came the sentence that changed everything. He wrote that if he ever left this world first, he hoped I wouldn't spend my life trapped by guilt. He reminded me that bad things happen even to good people. And that the greatest way to honor those we lose is by continuing to live fully. I cried harder than I had since the funeral. Not because the pain disappeared. But because for the first time, I felt permission to let go. Healing wasn't immediate. It never is. But slowly, life began returning. I started volunteering at a local youth center. I helped coach baseball. I spent time mentoring children who lacked positive role models. Something surprising happened. The kindness Silas once showed me began flowing through me toward others. His influence hadn't died. It lived on. Every lesson. Every memory. Every act of generosity. Years have passed since that storm. The pain remains. Some wounds never fully heal. Yet I no longer define my life by the worst night I ever experienced. Instead, I remember the countless beautiful days that came before it. The fishing trips. The road trips. The birthdays. The laughter. The friendship. Because a life isn't measured by how it ends. It's measured by how it was lived. And Silas Bennett lived well. If this story is touching your heart so far, please take a moment to like, share, and comment. Stories like these remind us how precious life truly is, and your support helps keep meaningful stories alive.